I'm going to be answering prompt two. This is Charles Darwin. He's a British naturalist, and he is most well known for forming his theory on natural selection and, to an extent, evolution. Um, he was born on February 12th, 1809, and uh, somewhere in his lifetime, he went on a ship called the Beagle, and he went all the way to Ecuador to find out the origins of animals. He was a curious guy. And um, in particular, the finches off the coast of Ecuador in Galapagos, he noticed that the beaks varied in size depending on which island they were on, even though they were practically neighbors. Most notably, he noticed that finches with larger beaks typically consumed harder foods like seeds and nuts, while finches with smaller beaks ate softer foods like berries. Darwin concluded that each uh, individual finch species had adapted to the particular environment and food resources of its own island. Um, that is from Figure 2.3, Chapter 2, Evolution. But Darwin didn't come to this conclusion completely based off of his own world knowledge. He had many inspirations from many scientists over the years. And those scientists took the first steps from a world that was primarily Judo Christian and using the Bible's ideas in order to explain how the world works. And Darwin ignored all of that and he said, I'm going to listen to the scientists instead. And then he concluded that natural selection, a term that he coined, was the right way. And he was right. I'm going to start listing off Charles Darwin's inspirations now. So, number one, and this is arguably one of the most influential, a book called An Essay on the Principle of Population by the English political economist Thomas Malthus. The book basically said that a population size is based off of food, which very much influenced Darwin's ideas. Geology, um, particularly James Hutton and Charles Lyell's rediscovery of James Hutton's ideas, led to uniformitarianism. That's a hard word to say. And essentially, it proved that the Earth was always changing, so why couldn't species change with the Earth? Of course, it wouldn't happen immediately, but it wasn't fixed like the Bible said. It was very much always changing. Life was always changing. And there was also, of course, the idea of paleontology, which um, also heavily influenced Charles Darwin's ideas. Scientists like Robert Hooke and George Cuvier, especially George Cuvier's idea of catastrophism and the idea of extinct species, very much proved the idea of natural selection and evolution. And of course, there was also the idea of taxonomy, which was pioneered by John Ray and Carl Linnaeus. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. But they were much more specific with their classifications of organisms and species, which helped Darwin out a lot as well. Lamarck came up with the idea of Lamarckism, which this image is going to show you just what exactly that is. I got it from a textbook. And this is actually wrong, but it did provide the foundation of what would become, Darwin's great idea of natural selection, evolution, yada yada. But also very interesting is that his grandpa or grandfather, Erasmus Darwin, also supported Lamarckism. So this kind of idea ran in the family, evidently. And of course, Charles Darwin wasn't alone. Well, he did work independently, but he wasn't the only scientist to come up with this kind of idea. Alfred Russel Wallace, on the right over there, had just as big a beard, and he had just as big a brain as well. He was the leading authority on the concept of warning coloration in animals, which basically means like, oh, you see this bright colored frog, don't eat it, you're gonna die. After Charles Darwin published his ideas out of fear that they would be stolen, now every scientist uses his ideas as a groundwork for biology, and really just the foundation for most things science related. Great job, Charles.